Hello, and be welcome to the world of darkness. Long ago was it that the sin of Cain spawned the cursed horror that stalks the street at night in search of living blood. The kindred have long been a secret influence through all ages of human history, plotting against one another in a never-ending jihad. Their immortal progeny are among us to this day, hidden from the eyes of humanity by an elaborate masquerade.
Coming to set the scene. As you wake this evening, it is, as the evening before, very quiet, save for the drip and occasional motion of water. The sewers beneath Whitechapel are a very busy and occupied place, though you've found a corner in which the waters don't reach, and there's some planks of wood laid out solidly enough that you're able to lay and sleep. It's quite nice. It's quite quiet. And there is an abundance of rodents, of course. Not far away from you, you have a lantern, which you can light with a single candle if needed. And some of the bricks shift beneath you a little bit. Some of the ones that have come loose as you stir.
Alden, awakening, would kind of try and weave his way through the rubbish that he's covered himself with. And with the sewers in Whitechapel, there are ladders that would lead up to, like, the opening, right?
Sporadically spaced.
Okay. Alden would come to the closest one and kind of press his face up against the opening to look at the outside.
Well, as you rise and move through the sewers, the occasional splashing of water where you have to trudge through it. Give me a wits and alertness really quick. You hear, though it echoes throughout the tunnel of which you are in, rebounds into those adjacent and connecting, the loud screeching.
Using Auspex, Alden would try and get an idea of what that thing is.
Heightening your senses, you pause as you can hear the clacking sound. It sounds very much like hooves on or claws on the stones sporadically spread throughout the sewers. The occasional splash of water and grunting.
Alden would use the power of obfuscate to hide himself and slowly edge his way closer.
I will ask you to give me a wits and alertness as you try to, with your heightened senses, more or less echolocate, try to find the origin of these sounds. Trudging through the waters, causing the occasional splash and ripple to move throughout, you proceed after the sounds of hooves. You can hear more of them. And another loud as you close in to the source. Peeking around the edge You're somewhat surprised by what you see as in the refuse of... You're not even entirely sure what, though. There is 2 large hogs gnawing at the refuse for sustenance.
Sorry, when you say refuse, what are you referring to?
Trash, dead fish, just pretty much garbage.
Although Alden is in obfuscate, he would give a smile as he creeps.
Hmm?
Alden would try to get behind the hog and start feeding from it. Although it doesn't look like it. One of the clan's ghouls, no?
It's a big pig underground in the sewer, so that's weird, but other than that, no.
So it seems other than quite normal, not ghoul-like.
Yes, and there's 2 of them.
How close are they to each other?
Fairly close. Maybe if you were to spread your hand out between them, there'd be about that much distance.
In that case, would it be possible to go in between the 2 and grab them into his side, so that when he feeds from the other, well, when he feeds from one, the other doesn't run away?
Make a strength and brawl. Naturally, add your potence. As you suddenly appear, it's not until your hands are... No, not even then. It's only once you firmly grasp the thick thistle fur and some of the bunching of the back, you wrench one of the hogs off its front hooves to the side. Immediately, it starts thrashing. The other one jerking its head up, swinging, looking for the source of what's grabbed it. You sink your fangs into the back of its head. Immediately, its entire body locks up and then shudders as it starts producing low whines as you consume the mouthfuls upon mouthfuls of hog blood. It has a very strange taste to it. Though warm and satisfying, it doesn't carry quite the same punch as human blood. And furthermore, it has a very distinctive taste. A slight sourness with a strong aftertaste of copper, kind of like sucking on a penny. Once the first hog is deceased, devoid of blood, and dropped to the water, you are able to see what it was they were gnawing at. It is mostly trash and old dead fish, but there's also what looks to be several days old corpse, with a pail beside it, with a sort of wire mesh in the bottom of it. The hog that you have just dropped on one of its tusks having a glint of something catching the light, as the other one in your left hand continues to thrash wildly in terror at the predator which has caught wind of it.
Alden would also feed from that hog.
Sinking your fangs into its flesh, it's very much rinse and repeat. They haven't the strength to compete with you. You drain them easily.
before allowing their bodies to splash into the water.
Alden stays silent for a second after he returns back up, kind of looking down at his feet and just thinking. Out of character, where was it that Harker and Rebecca were said to be meeting?
As you would have overheard, the zoo in Hyde Park. Not Hyde Park,
Regents?
I believe so, but I'm yes, Regents Park.
Okay. From the tunnels, would Alden know which the best route to take would be?
Vaguely. You have a bit more awareness of the tunnels than most. Not to mention, the sewers are the domain of your kin. Quite a safe journey, all in all.
Alden would take the route he's most used to, or would be the quickest.
As you press through the tunnels, making fairly good time, you choose to cross from the sewers of Whitechapel to one of the underground metro lines, crossing it into one of the warrens and making reasonable time, though you have had to take moments to second guess and reconsider your path. What's more interesting, in fact, is that occasionally you do hear in the sewers, though they become more distant as you press northward, more hogs, something to make note of for when hunting in the East End. You pause as you find yourself utterly turned around. In fact, you're not even sure where you are at the moment. You're in one of the sewers, though it looks practically identical to everything else you've seen. The occasional makeshift, almost gangplanks, you could call them, of the underground of London, the brick cobbled walls. I find it suddenly very difficult to recall where it is you are.
Nearby, would I be able to find one of those exit points where you can kind of look out?
Yes. You can see, thanks to your heightened senses, the faint stream of light that seems to peek in, as well as the smell of the fresh air. You move towards, stopping there at the splash of the water around your ankles.
Alden would, obfuscated, slowly approach it and stay completely silent to listen and watch.
What's an alertness? You haven't the foggiest idea where the hell you are.
Are these one of the, keep forgetting what they're called, those like circle things?
What?
I keep forgetting what they're called. You know those circle things you can open that lead to the sewer?
Manholes?
Yeah. Is it like that? A manhole?
Yes, it's somewhat dislodged, hence why a bit of light is streaming from above, which means gaslight. Means you're not, off in Limehouse or Bentham Green. You're at least somewhere still near central London.
Would I be able to see anything around the manhole?
So you're going to climb up and see if you can peek out a little bit?
Yeah.
Give me a wits and alertness really quick. At the top of the ladder, the wood creaking under your weight a little bit, you peek out through the slight shift of the cover of the manhole. You see horses and people wearing fine clothes. Yet as you look around, you see a sign for Bloomsbury Square Garden. Seems you're not far from the British Museum, actually. You'd say you're probably somewhere on Southampton Row, but where along the line, you're not sure.
Would I seem to know some sort of route now, or would I have to leave?
We have a better idea of what route to take.
Okay. Would I see anyone who sticks out while I'm look around?
I mean, there's a few people in nice dress. One or two that are in carriage going by. As far as what sticks out, that depends on what you define as sticking out.
Would I see anyone I recognize?
No.
Okay. Alden would spend a moment more just being silent, listening quietly, before letting himself lower down and start to take a new route.
Whitson Street. You're having a damnable time getting around. A damnable time at that. A few rats scurry past you as you move into one of the warrens of the Nosferatu. You actually do find a telegraph machine. The little clicker set on a rough piece of stone that's been chiseled out of the wall, which is fairly smooth at that. Moving back into place the false wall behind you, which is made up namely of wood with several bricks attached to the front facade. The beams on the back of it allowing you to shift it into place. No mortal strong enough to move this with ease. You find that you are in the warrens, which much rougher stone and a bit more narrow, but over the centuries it has been cleaned up more than enough to make for somewhat comfortable walking. In fact, you can even see some scuff marks from one member of your clan or another who might have even been walking around with a cane down here.
Alden would kind of hold his trench coat, kind of adjusting it, fixing it up, just at the thought of that. Then, after taking a quick look around, he would continue.
As you begin to move towards one of the tunnels, at your left, appearing with a inclination of his head and a slight bow, one of your clanmates greets you. One you're happy to see, in fact. Bernard, also known among your clan as the Minotaur of London.
Alden, although considering his monstrosity might be hard to see, would give a smile, kind of adjusting his top hat as he does so, and would say, "Ah, if it's not the Minotaur."
He pauses at that and rubs at his chest. Yes, the Minotaur of London. I haven't heard that one before. Good to see you too, Alden. Such manners. Going northward again.
He would chuckle before saying, "Yep, as always, just exactly where I'm headed."
He wags one of his long fingers. No? You're not headed to Islington. I would have expected you to head to Islington.
He would give off a sigh, saying, "Yeah, recently I've been busy. The Seneschal has requested my help."
Involved in Whitechapel. He wrings his hands together, his fingers interlacing and wrapping before releasing. Quite long are they, so long that when they interlock, the tips of his fingers touch just past his wrists on either hand.
Alden would mention Bernard. While I was on the way here, there were quite a few hogs. Is it just this kind of time of year where they come on here?
Streaming his fingers over his face, he shakes his head. Hogs. Yes, there have been many hogs under the East End. They've even begun speaking of it above. Not that I would know, I don't like going there. He taps one long nail against his exposed fangs, providing a slight ticking sound that you can hear with your heightened senses. He then shakes his head. Yes, there are many hogs underneath Whitechapel and other parts of the East End. I hear as far north as Spitfields. Charles, Mr. Fryer, said he even encountered one under the city of London. Fancy that, finding a pink under the city, not even wearing a suit.
Would, removing his top hat, let it kind of hang by his side while he holds it with his right hand, almost like he's leaving. He's apart now since he's with his own kind. And he would say, "Do you think there's any particular reason?"
I don't know. They have made hunting underground a bit easier. Now, if they would move a bit further to the west, better. Then we might have a bit more opportunity for fresh pork, rather than just long pork. He waves a hand. But I don't know. I haven't gone to the East End lately. No desire to run into Prince Fangen.
Alden would almost scoff at that, saying how, yeah, I was unfortunate enough to run into his little kid slaves.
His little pack of ghouls. Yes. What are they? The street Turks. I was speaking with Violet long ago. She too finds it very distasteful.
Kind of tapping his chin with his left hand. He says, and considering how many there are, I just don't like to think about it. It's quite terrible, isn't it?
Yes.
Better to be left as it is, then. No point in involving oneself with that drudgery. You're still occupied, aren't you? Dealing with the nonsense down there, the river. More's the pity.
Alden would nod, now placing his top hat back onto his head, saying, "Ah, yes. Many secrets, many secrets." It's still hard to believe that he...
I am surprised you did not encounter Violet on your way here. She was just going down to see her young ward, the caitiff ward.
His eyes, well, yes, they would kind of widen, his eyebrows raising. That's if any eyebrows remain. And he would say, "Sorry, can you repeat that again?"
You didn't know? Violet is... She finds Haversham's treatment of his so-called children very distasteful, and has a young ward, a caitiff by the name of Wart. Excellent thief, I'm told. She does look out for him, so... Heavens forbid Haversham should ever lay a hand on Wart's head. I can't imagine what she would be motivated to do.
Just double checking, Havisham is referring to Prince Fanganya.
Yes, by his real name, Haversham.
Alden would kind of rub the side of his face for a second, saying, "Oh, that surprises me. I've heard that Wart supposedly kills children. Well, being one of us, not only do we find correct information, but sometimes misinformation."
Exactly. It is all so bothersome involving oneself with the machinations of the above. I prefer it down here within the walls. Lest we get some intruder. Don't like intruders. We had an intruder not long ago. Though that was in Shadwell. I happened to come across them as I was going to Limehouse.
Who did they happen to be?
He shrugs his shoulders and waves away his right hand. Some vagrant. I don't recognize them. I don't believe they're of London, but if they are, then they made a foul mistake coming here. I gave them a solid barking and sent them on their way. Their fangs removed as payment for intruding on our underground.
Alden would chuckle and, tap him on his shoulder, saying, "Ah, at least they've been dealt with."
Certainly they have, certainly they have. You really should put this business you have in the East End to rest. Rejoin the others in Islington. They need your assistance. Much more than the ladies of the night, Whitechapel. It's That seedy part of town would make for great domain for the clan, but alas, here we are.
Alden,
Thank you, Alden, for entertaining me in conversation. I haven't had much good conversation lately.
Alden would say, if I'm to be frank, and then he would point upwards. Up there's no real good conversation. Just investigating. Every now and then you do one of the fellow clan members, which is enjoyable. But it's been a while.
A long while. I haven't... Pardon my indulgence, I haven't had much conversation of late, and I haven't been above in a little over a decade. I have no reason to go above. I like it down here. He runs a hand over one of the smooth walls. Above is too loud, too crowded, too... He shudders, clutching himself with both arms. He looks for a moment like a frightened child.
Alden would step forward, placing an arm on him to comfort him.
He looks at you for a long moment. At first with surprise, then with scrutiny, and then he pulls away. Good evening to you, Alden. I apologize for my indulgences. It's like thinking of things up there, too painful. Allow me to know if you need any assistance getting there. Communicate by the wire. He taps the stone where the telegraph is. I will be sure to answer. And if not I, perhaps one of the others. Good evening. He quickly shuffles away from you, clearly bothered by you having seen him in a moment of weakness.
By any chance, before he would have been able to slip away, would Alden been able to...
What?
Before he would have slipped away, would Alden have been able to kind of grab him for a second to say one more thing?
Easily enough.
Okay. In that case, he would have either grabbed his wrist, his forearm, something like that. And as Bernard turns round, he would have said, "Thank you for always being here. And for next time, there's no reason to apologize. We're all in the same boat." And then would kind of holding the edge of his hat, give a slight bow of the head.
You're not sure if he's upset by what you said, or bashful, or apathetic entirely. You don't believe you said anything wrong, or it's very hard to tell why it is. But no sooner do you let him go and offer him a polite bow, he vanishes just before your eyes.
Alden kind of just stands there for a second, fixing himself up, adjusting his trench coat, his top hat, kind of tapping his chest for a second, kind of, get the blood pumping, get him back in motion. Then he would just let out a sigh before starting to continue his destination.
It's not a far trek from where you are now. You eventually depart on the tracks of the Euston Tube Station, following the tracks northward along the edges of Regent's Park, before eventually stepping off of them and climbing the faint hill to the park village, and from there following towards the park. End scene.